Exchange rate equilibrium. Change in the equilibrium exchange rate. Okay, so in chapter 4, part 1, we've discussed the when the demand for the currency equals to the supply of the currency, the cross point of the two lines or the two schedules are the equilibrium price for the exchange rate, right? And we call it equilibrium exchange rate. But what if in the market there is, in general, a change in this line? Okay, for example, for each price level, what if there is an increase in demand schedule? Okay, remember what we say that when the value of the currency goes down, there is a higher demand for the currency, right? So that's why the demand schedule is downward sloping. But what if for each level of price, there's an increase in demand schedule, which means we're moving this downward slope line to the right. Okay, so for each price, the quantity of the quantity of demand for this currency will increase. Okay, so the line will be moved to the right parallelly. So the cross point will increase. Okay, that's why banks will increase the exchange rate to the level at which the amount demanded is equal to the amount supplied in the foreign exchange rate. Okay, if we want to discuss this issue on the graph, okay, it's this same graph here. Here we're saying the demand curve is downward sloping. For each price, we have a demand quantity for the price. But what if the demand curve, the blue line here, is moved to the right or moved up? What if I have a new line here, okay, as D prime? Then for each level price, we have a higher demand in quantity. Okay, this is when we say the demand schedule increases. The demand increases for all the any price level. Then the cross point would be here at a higher price. Okay, so when the supply schedule, the line doesn't change. When demand schedule, the line increases. Okay, we have a higher equilibrium price. The bank will change the exchange rate price to this higher price in order to make the supply, the quantity of the supply and the quantity of demand equal to each other. And this only happens at this newer, higher price level. Okay, this is what this first graph here is talking about. An opposite case will be the second scenario here. A decrease in demand curve, which means the demand curve is the downward sloping line. Remember, the blue line is moved down. Okay, it's moved to the left or moved down. At each price level, the demand schedule or the demanded quantity goes down. Okay, so the new cross point is at a lower price with the with the supply schedule. Okay, if we assume that the supply schedule doesn't change, the demand schedule decreases, then the new equilibrium price will be lower. Okay, the banks will reduce the exchange rate to the level at which the amount demanded is equal to the amount supplied in the foreign market. Okay, this is the change in the demand schedule or the demand line. And whenever it goes up or goes down, the price goes in the same way, goes up or goes down. Okay, what if the blue line, the downward sloping blue line, the demand schedule doesn't change? What if we only change the red line, the upward sloping supply schedule? If it goes up, which means for each price level, we have an increased supply quantity, okay, the line will be moved to the right, again, to the right, to a higher quantity level, right? So imagine this. If this red line, okay, is moved to the right, okay, there is an increase in supply for each price level. The equilibrium price, the intersection point, the crossover point between supply and demand schedule will be lower. Okay, that's why we say when there's an increase in the supply schedule, when the red line moves to the right, banks will reduce the exchange rate to the level at which the demand and supply quantity is equal to each other. Okay, and the opposite case would be there's a decrease in supply schedule where the red line is moved to the left. Okay, for each price level, there's a lower quantity of supply. In this case, the intersection points will be higher, right? So the banks will increase the exchange rate to the higher price level, at which again there's an equilibrium reached. Okay, so you can understand these situations by imagining the lines. Okay, you can also think about these cases intuitively. Okay, for example, when there is an increase in the demand schedule, it means that there is a general increase in the demand in the market for this currency. Okay, so the price should be higher because more people are demanding it, right? Vice versa, when not as many people are demanding it, the price could be lower. And for supply curve, when there's a higher supply, the price should be reduced, right? Because it's not as rare anymore. And when there's a decrease in supply, the price could increase because it's more rare now. Okay, so you can understand these situations by either imagining graphs or just thinking it intuitively as the uh, as how you think about those commercial products as you learn in your economics class. Okay, let's look at an example here. Any event that increases the US demand for euros should result in what kind of change in the value of the euro with respect to which currency, other things being equal. Okay, think about it, let me know. The right option here should be A. Okay, when there is a higher demand for euros, it means more people want it. So the value should go up. There should be an increase in the value of euro with respect to US dollars. Okay, because it's the US demand for euros that increased. Any event that reduces US demand for Japanese yen should result in what change in the value of Japanese yen with respect to which currency, other things being equal. The right option should be D. Okay, the US demand for Japanese yen should decrease. Excuse me, when the US demand for Japanese yen decreases, the value for Japanese yen also decreases. Okay, because not as many people are wanting it anymore, the value should decrease with respect to US dollars. Any event that increases the supply of British pounds to be exchanged for US dollars should result in what change in the value of British pound with respect to which currency? Okay, pause the video, think about it. If you're ready, you can resume the video. The answer should be D. Okay, because it's the supply of British pounds here that increased. Okay, more people are selling British pounds. There's a higher supply in the market. So in this case, the value of British pounds should decrease, okay, with respect to US dollars. Any event that reduces the supply of Swiss francs to be exchanged for the US dollars should result in what change in the value of Swiss francs with respect to which currency? Pause the video, think about it. If you're ready, the right option should be A. Okay, when the supply of this foreign currency is declining, okay, it means there's less people selling it. There should be an increase in the market for the value of Swiss franc with respect to US dollar. Assume that British corporations begin to purchase more supplies from the US as a result of several labor strikes by British suppliers. This action reflects which one? Think about it. Option C is the right answer. An increase in the supply of British pounds for sale, okay, because more people or more British corporations are purchasing more supplies from the US, meaning more corporations in the Great Britain is trying to purchase more US dollars. Okay, they're exchanging British pounds for US dollars. So there's a supply increase in British pounds for sale and a higher demand for US dollars. Okay, and this is only one side effect, no decrease in demand for British pound nor in supply of US dollars. Factors that influence exchange rate. The equilibrium exchange will change over time as supply and demand schedules change. So we've talked about how the two lines, the supply line or the demand line change could affect equilibrium, right? Here we're bringing in more factors here. Okay, so here we have an equation. On the left-hand side, it's the letter E, standing for percentage change in the spot rate. Okay, so the change in the spot rate of the exchange rate equals to F. F is a function. Okay, in the bracket, we have 5 factors in the function, meaning these 5 factors could change the value of percentage change in the spot rate, E. Okay, the first factor is delta INF. Delta inflation, okay? It means the change in the differential between US inflation and the foreign country's inflation rate. Okay, this is a factor that would change the spot rate. The second factor is delta INT. It is the change in the differential between the US interest rate and the foreign country's interest rate. Okay, it's the interest rate difference between the two countries that could affect the exchange rate as well. Third factor is delta INC, the change in the differential between US income level and the foreign country's income level. Okay, delta inflation, delta interest, delta income. Okay, the difference in inflation, interest rate, and income between the two countries could affect the spot rates, exchange rates between the two countries. The fourth factor is delta GC, government control, changing government controls. The last factor is delta EXP, changing expectations of future exchange rates. Okay, so these are the 5 factors. Changing inflation rate, changing interest rate, changing income, change in government control, changing expectations of the future exchange rates. Now we're going to discuss these factors one by one in detail. The first factor is relative inflation, okay, delta INF, the change in the inflation rate between the two countries. Increase in US inflation rates will lead to an increase in US demand for foreign goods because of higher domestic price. Okay, whenever there is a higher inflation in United States, the price for domestic market would be higher, right? So more people would purchase foreign goods instead. That's why we have an increase in demand for foreign goods. So this will lead to an increase in US demand for foreign currency as well, and a decrease in US supply of foreign currency. And okay, the increase in US demand for foreign currency is because more people want to exchange US dollars for foreign currency so they can purchase the foreign goods, right? And then because there's less people coming to US to purchase the domestic goods, so there's less people exchange foreign goods for US dollars for purchasing the US goods. So there's a decrease in US supply of foreign currency. Oh, okay, remember the first two influences are coming from two aspects, okay, for two different directions. We also see an increase in the exchange rate for the foreign currency, okay? So because the increase in demand for foreign goods and increasing demand for foreign currency, also because a decrease in US goods, so there is a decrease in US supply of foreign currency, okay? And together, these two effects lead to an increase in the exchange rate for the foreign currency because the demand increases, supply decreases. So the foreign currency should increase in value. Okay, so here shows the graph impact of rising US inflation on the equilibrium value of the British pound. Again, the rising inflation leads to higher US price and relatively lower foreign price. So we have a higher demand to purchase foreign goods. So our demand for foreign currency goes up. Okay, so our demand schedule or demand line here is moved to the right, moved up to D2. On the other hand, the supply of the foreign goods goes down, okay, because less people are exchanging foreign goods for US dollar to purchase US goods. So there is a less supply for the foreign currency. So the red line here is moved to the left, okay? So we have S2. And then we have this new equilibrium price that is higher than the old equilibrium price. So a rising inflation rate in US will lead to a higher exchange rate. Okay, the value of the foreign currency is higher now. Practice. If US inflation suddenly increased while European inflation stayed the same, there would be which one is true? Okay, read through all the options. Let me know. So if you're ready, you can go to the next slide with me. If not, you can pause the video. The right option should be D. Okay, relative to European inflation rate, US inflation goes up. So there's a higher demand, US demand for euros, and a decreased supply of euros for sale. Okay, we have an increased US demand for euros because there's an increased demand for exchange US dollar for euros to purchase European goods. We have a decreased supply of euros for sale because less people are exchanging euros for US dollars to purchase US goods. Okay, two directions. So what happens to the value of euro at this time? What happens to the exchange rate of euros in US dollar? It should go up, right? Because the demand for euro goes up, supply of euro goes down, the price of euro or the exchange rate of euro should go up. If inflation in New Zealand suddenly increased while US inflation stayed the same, there would be which one here? Let me know.